What if the person you trusted most suddenly crossed a line? The kitchen smelled of cinnamon and rain. Emily had been stirring her tea absent-mindedly, lost in the sound of the storm outside, when the door creaked open. For a second she thought it was the wind, but then she heard slow, careful footsteps. She turned and froze. Daniel stood there in the doorway, drenched from head to toe, his gray hoodie clinging to his skin, raindrops dripping onto the floor. He looked like a man who had run through a storm just to find something he had lost. Emily's heart skipped. She hadn't seen him in 2 months. Not since the argument. Not since the day everything fell apart. Her hand tightened around the spoon. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" He looked at her like he had rehearsed this moment 100 times, and still didn't know what to say. "I had to come," he said softly. His voice was rough, heavy, like it carried 1,000 unspoken words. Emily felt her chest tighten. The air in the kitchen shifted. The same room where they used to talk about everything. Where they laughed, teased each other, cooked together. But now it felt foreign, like every memory between them had been sealed away. She stepped back, uncertain. "It's late. You shouldn't be here." Daniel took a hesitant step forward, his shoes squeaking against the tile. "I know. But I couldn't wait anymore." Lightning flashed through the window, and for a brief second, Emily saw his eyes clearly, full of something she hadn't seen before. Regret, maybe even pain. He swallowed hard. "Emily, I shouldn't have left that day." Those words hit her like cold water. The day he left still haunted her. The slammed door, the silence that followed, the way he didn't even look back. That day had ended something they both refused to name, but silently felt. "Why now, Daniel?" she whispered. "Why come back after all this time?" His jaw tightened. "Because every day since then, I've thought about what I said, about what I didn't say." Emily turned away, trying to steady her breath. The sound of the rain grew louder, like it was echoing the mess inside her heart. "You made your choice. You walked away." Daniel's voice cracked slightly. "I thought I was doing the right thing, but it turns out I was just running from the truth." She glanced at him, confused. "What truth?" He looked down, almost afraid to meet her eyes. "That I can't stop caring about you." Her heart skipped again. For a long second, the only sound was the ticking of the old wall clock and the rain hitting the window pane. Emily didn't know what to say. A part of her wanted to believe him. Another part wanted to protect herself from the same heartbreak. "Daniel," she said quietly, "you can't just come here and—" "I know," he interrupted, voice trembling. "I know I don't deserve to be here, but I couldn't stay away any longer. I've tried to move on, Emily, I really have. But every morning when I open my door, I see yours. Every time I make coffee, I remember how you used to steal half of mine." Emily's lips parted, but no words came. Her mind was spinning. This was the same man who told her they needed space. The same man who said he wasn't ready for anything serious. And now he was standing here, saying everything she once begged to hear. She took a slow breath. "You think words can fix what you broke?" He shook his head. "No, but maybe they can start to." The lights flickered as thunder rolled through the sky. Emily could see the reflection of the storm in his eyes. Restless, uncertain, just like them. She moved toward the counter, putting distance between them. "You don't get to just show up after disappearing, Daniel." "You don't get to do that," he sighed. "I know. But tell me one thing, Emily. If I'd called, would you have answered?" She hesitated. Her silence said enough. Daniel smiled faintly, like he already knew. "That's what I thought." He took another step forward, his voice softer now. "You don't have to forgive me. I just need you to know that leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life." Her throat tightened. The rain outside turned into a downpour. Every word he said dragged old emotions back to the surface, ones she had tried to bury under everyday routines, fake smiles, and late-night tears. She finally looked up at him. "You hurt me, Daniel. I know," he whispered. "And I've been living with that every single day." The honesty in his tone cracked something inside her. She could see how tired he looked, how his shoulders slumped like he'd been carrying guilt for too long. But she also knew forgiveness wasn't something she could hand out easily. She turned away again, blinking back tears. You can't just walk in and expect everything to be okay. I don't expect that, he said. I just want a chance to make things right. Emily didn't reply. Her pulse was racing. She remembered the last time he had stood in that same kitchen, his hand resting on the counter, telling her he needed space. That moment had shattered her. And now, here he was again, reaching for something he had thrown away. Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper. I never stopped thinking about you. Not even once. Emily closed her eyes, feeling a wave of emotion rise in her chest. Then why didn't you come sooner? His answer came like a quiet confession. Because I thought you'd moved on. The clock ticked loudly between them. Emily turned slowly, her eyes glistening. And what if I haven't? He froze, his breath catching. For a moment, the whole world outside the kitchen disappeared. Just two people standing between the past and something neither dared to name. The rain softened, turning into a light drizzle. Daniel stepped closer, his voice breaking the silence. Emily, if there's even a small part of you that still cares, please let me try again. Her chest tightened. She didn't know whether to push him away or fall into his arms. All she knew was that every heartbeat felt heavier. She finally whispered, Daniel, don't do this to me again. He looked at her, really looked, as if searching for forgiveness in her eyes. Then tell me to leave, he said quietly. And I will. The air stood still. Emily opened her mouth, but no words came out. For a few seconds, they just stared at each other, both afraid to speak, both afraid not to. Then suddenly the thunder cracked again, louder than before, making her flinch. The lights flickered once more and went out completely, leaving the kitchen in total darkness. She gasped. Daniel? His voice came from somewhere close, low and steady. I'm here. She could feel the warmth of his presence in the dark, the faint brush of his hand against hers. Her heart raced, and then in a voice barely above a whisper, he said something that made her forget how to breathe. Emily, there's something I never told you. The darkness held its breath. Can you forgive someone who broke your heart before ever holding it? The power was still out, and the kitchen was wrapped in darkness. The only light came from the faint glow of Daniel's phone screen. Emily could barely see his face, but she could hear the tremble in his voice. Emily, he said softly. I didn't just leave because I was scared. I left because I didn't trust myself around you. She frowned. What are you talking about? I was falling for you, he said, almost whispering. And it terrified me. Her heart thudded in her chest. The words felt unreal. She took a step back, gripping the counter for balance. You think that's an excuse? He shook his head. No, it's the truth. I thought pushing you away would protect both of us, but it only made everything worse. The rain had slowed to a soft drizzle outside, but inside, the silence was louder than ever. Emily could still hear his heartbeat in every word. She sighed. You hurt me, Daniel. You made me believe I mattered, and then you disappeared. He ran a hand through his wet hair. I know. I told myself it was the right thing, but I kept hearing your voice in my head every single night. Emily looked down, fighting the ache in her chest. Then why didn't you come back sooner? He hesitated. Because I thought you'd moved on. I saw that guy leaving your porch a few weeks ago. I told myself it was too late. Emily's eyes widened. That was my cousin Daniel. He blinked. Your cousin? She nodded, half smiling through the sadness. You assumed the worst again, like always. Daniel looked away, his shoulders sinking. I guess I've been wrong about a lot of things. The silence returned, heavy, fragile. Emily took a deep breath. You can't just show up one night and fix everything with apologies. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he said. I'm asking you to listen. She hesitated, then nodded slightly. I came back because there's something else you don't know, he continued. Something about that night I left, Emily frowned. What night? The night we fought, he said. When I told you I wasn't ready. There was another reason. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Then tell me. He looked at her, his expression darkening. I can't, not yet. Emily's heartbeat quickened. Why not? Because once I say it, he murmured, everything between us will change. The words hung in the air like thunder that hadn't struck yet. She didn't know whether to push him or walk away. "Daniel," she said quietly, "you can't keep secrets anymore." He stepped closer, his voice almost breaking. "I'm not keeping it to protect me, Emily. I'm keeping it to protect you." Her eyes searched his, trying to read what he wasn't saying. The faint hum of electricity returned. The kitchen lights flickered on, and in that flash, she saw something in Daniel's eyes she had never seen before. Fear. What if the truth you've been waiting for comes with a price? The lights flickered back to life, casting a pale glow across Daniel's face. Emily could see him clearly now. His wet hair, his trembling hands, and the fear in his eyes that didn't make sense. She swallowed hard. "Daniel, what are you hiding?" He hesitated, glancing toward the window as if the rain might give him courage. "That night I left, someone told me to. Someone who thought they were protecting you." Emily frowned. "Protecting me from what?" "From me," he said quietly. Her chest tightened. "What does that even mean?" He stepped closer, his voice low and tense. "Your mother came to see me the day before our fight. She told me to stay away from you, that I'd only hold you back." Emily blinked, trying to process his words. "My mother?" He nodded. "She said you had dreams, college, a new job, a life beyond this neighborhood. She said if I cared about you, I'd let you go." Her heart pounded. "And you listened?" "I thought she was right," he whispered. "You were always destined for more, Emily. I didn't want to be the reason you settled for less." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "So you broke my heart because my mother asked you to?" Daniel's expression twisted with guilt. "I thought I was doing what was best for you. But it turns out I was just doing what was easiest for me, running away." She turned toward the counter, her hands shaking. Every word felt like a cut she didn't see coming. All those nights, she'd blamed herself, thinking she'd said something wrong, done something wrong. And now this. "My mom had no right," she said softly. "That wasn't her choice." Daniel nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "I know, and I should have fought for you. I should have stayed." Emily took a deep breath, trying to steady the storm inside her. "You let her decide for both of us, Daniel. You didn't even ask me what I wanted." He looked at her, his eyes full of regret. "You're right, and that's why I came back. Not to fix the past, but to finally tell you the truth." She turned, tears glistening on her cheeks. "You should have told me then." "I was a coward," he admitted. "But I'm not leaving this time. Not unless you tell me to." Emily opened her mouth to speak. But before she could, the sound of a car door slamming outside made her freeze. Daniel's head turned toward the window. "Who's that?" Emily's heart dropped. She recognized that sound. "That car! It's my mom!" she whispered. Daniel's eyes widened. "Now?" Emily nodded, panic creeping into her voice. "She can't see you here. Not after everything she said." He took a step back, uncertainty flickering across his face. Emily's voice trembled as headlights flashed through the window. "Daniel, please, you need to leave. Right now, would you let love in, even when it arrives too late?" Emily's pulse raced as her mother's footsteps echoed from the porch. The headlights from the driveway cut through the curtains, flashing across Daniel's face. He looked torn between leaving and staying. "Daniel, please," she whispered, voice shaking. "She can't see you here. You know what she'll think." He didn't move. His voice was calm but heavy. "I'm not running this time, Emily. Not from her and not from you." She stared at him, panic rising. "If she finds you here, she'll start all over again. You don't know how she gets." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "Then let her. I came here to tell the truth, and I'm not hiding it anymore." The front door opened. Emily's mother's voice carried through the hallway, firm and tired. "Emily, are you home?" Emily's breath hitched. "Daniel, go!" she whispered, but he stood still, eyes locked on hers. "You deserve to choose for yourself this time." A few seconds later, her mother appeared at the kitchen door, umbrella dripping, coat still damp. She froze at the sight of Daniel. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut through air. "What is he doing here?" her mother demanded. Emily opened her mouth, but Daniel spoke first. "I came to tell her the truth I should have said a long time ago." Her mother's jaw tightened. You were told to stay away for a reason. Emily's voice trembled, but she didn't look away. Your reason, not mine. Her mother looked at her, eyes softening with something like fear. He'll ruin your plans, Emily. Everything you've worked for. Maybe my plans changed, Emily said quietly. Maybe all I ever wanted was honesty. The rain outside had stopped, but the tension in the room felt like thunder waiting to strike. Daniel stood still, letting her speak. It wasn't his fight anymore. It was hers. Her mother took a slow breath. You think he's different now? Emily nodded. No, I think I'm different. And that's enough. For a moment, her mother didn't say anything. Then slowly, she placed the umbrella by the door and turned to leave. You'll understand one day, she murmured before stepping out into the quiet night. The sound of the door closing echoed through the house. Emily turned back to Daniel, her eyes wet but steady. He smiled faintly. You really did that, she exhaled, her voice barely a whisper. I'm tired of being afraid of what could go wrong. Daniel took her hand gently, his warmth chasing away the last of her fear. So what now? Emily looked out the window where the storm had finally cleared. Now, she said softly, we start from the truth. The silence that followed was peaceful, like the world itself had taken a deep breath. But just as Daniel leaned in to speak, his phone buzzed, one message lighting up the screen. She knows you're there. Leave before it's too late.